these same words 200 years ago, everyone would have understood exactly what you meant. And that's actually my point here. These words haven't changed. So the first word is, well, choice. What is choice? Yeah, we'll make it a little bigger here.
Oh.
The act of choosing. Oops.
Uh-oh.
The AI is trying to help me out. Not. So the voluntary act of selecting or separating from two or more things, that which is preferred. Okay. Another term, a synonym might be election. That's cool. The power of choosing. That's an interesting definition. Okay. Care in selecting. Judgment or skill in distinguishing. Oh, interesting. And then the rest of these definitions get into some more, like more specific definitions, like elected to office and stuff like that. Okay.
That's a choice. That's a type of choice. Yeah.
It's a type of choice. That's a good way to describe it. So the next word is perspective. And if you were to use the word perspective, a view, a vista, I actually like this. They a glass through which objects are viewed is a perspective. To an interesting point,
like a microscope.
Yeah.
Or a telescope.
But an interesting point on this is your eyeballs also use a lens, just like a microscope or telescope. So
True.
Everything you see is viewed through a glass or perspective. Okay. And then the final word is observation. We use this word a lot in the Red Pill. We use this word a lot here. We love observation. And it's the act of observing or taking notice, seeing or of fixing in the mind on anything. That's fixing the mind. That's an interesting phrase. Yeah, this dictionary has some really interesting definitions.
So there's no mere blank observation.
Correct, and we're going to get into that tonight. And of course, there's other definitions like adherence to practice, but that's not really what we're interested in tonight. So we'll just keep these definitions in mind because all three of these matter to where we're headed tonight. Okay, pull up my notes. So I'm gonna do a little bit of a thought experiment with you guys here. Observation is seeing that an apple exists in my hand. If I were to hold an apple up to the proverbial camera here that I don't have on, and I was to say, do we all agree that this is an apple? You all would say, you would look at it and you would say, yeah, you all would look at it and you would say, that's an apple.
Most of the time. Unless you had some weird specimen.
A pear-shaped apple, right? Yeah. Okay, well, and then we might disagree on the basis of our definition of what an apple should look like. But in general, we can observe the various properties of the apple and come to a shared understanding, an agreement that this is in fact an apple. I mean, one of the ways to tell an apple and a pear apart is to cut them open. A pear has different guts than an apple does. So that's observation. And, we're Red Pill guys here, and we love talking about the observations of the Red Pill. Okay. And we've actually talked about this before. The Red Pill is not amoral, but it is possible to make an observation without attaching any. The observation itself has no attached morality. And we've talked about this before, and Nick and I
would disagree.
I know you would, but for the moment, the simple act of seeing something, taking the information into your eyes or your fingers, if you touch or smell, these are observations, and we're not making any moral judgment on the existence of the apple. Is really what I'm trying to get at. Right.
Well, you're not strictly speaking upon morality, but there is a morality of observation.
Okay. Right. But we all look at the apple, we agree that it's an apple or not, and we can have, this is science. But science
Right. There's a
has,
right way to do science. That's my point.
well, yes, there is. And that is a key point, although we made that point in another video, so we're not going to revisit it too hard here tonight.
Right.
Perspective is seeing the apple from different viewpoints at the same time. So in this example, I hold up the apple to the camera, but I cannot have the exact same view of the apple as the camera does. Okay. You two would necessarily get a different perspective of the apple than I could possibly ever have. And the reason I bring this up is because, particularly on the left, this is kind of their view. This is the starting point for why they think that choice doesn't matter. Choice doesn't matter because you have a different perspective.
Subjectivism.
It absolutely is. But their view is that the perspective drives how you choose to act. Therefore, the choice is not one of morality. Your perspective drives the correct moral choice.
Another way to say this might be my truth, my perspective, your truth, your perspective. So whatever.
So this is
So that's why it's important to see things from multiple viewpoints and to be able to look at things from another person's perspective. So you can basically understand them and agree on what you're talking about, whatever the concept is. And then you can diffuse that my truth, your truth thing.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up because that's exactly what science does. A scientist will hypothesize a thing. This is an apple. And then somebody else from a different viewpoint can come in and say, and do their own measurements from their own perspective and say, oh yeah, this really is an apple. Or, sorry, dude, you're actually talking about a pear here.
The story of the blind men and the elephant comes to mind. Are you familiar with that?
Oh yes, but go ahead.
How do you know it's an elephant, though? I'm sorry.
Okay, this is a matter of, perspective, and I guess limited. Well, they can't see, obviously, and so they can't see what they're talking about. So they're just basing it on one sense, and so their perspective is limited. The parable of the blind men and an elephant is a story of a group of blind men who have never come across an elephant before, who learn and imagine what an elephant is by touching it. Each blind man feels a different part of the animal's body, but only one part, such as the side or the tusk. Then they describe the animal based on their limited experience, and their descriptions of the elephant are different from each other. In some versions, they come to suspect that the other person is dishonest, and they come to blows. Okay, does that kind of describe how different perspectives, when people think their perspective is bullshit. The truth?
Well, no,
I
bullshit on what?
The whole elephant paradigm. Somebody knows it's a fucking elephant. That's why you're telling the story. Who the fuck knows it's the elephant? Who gets to tell the story?
It's the person telling the story that knows.
You don't know shit, right?
It was the blind man who said, "I see," as he picked up his hammer and saw.
Yeah, that's some Hinduistic bullshit. Story.